Hello everyone, my name is Signolo. Welcome to another video by Attention Matrix, where we try to make learning fun and easy. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you would like us to continue making this content and you enjoy it or find it helpful. Now on to the next video. Let's get right into it. Okay, welcome back to our video lessons on financial mathematics. We are still dealing with annuities in this video, and we're going to be looking at the present value annuity in this video. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the present value annuity, and we are going to be looking at the equation of the present value annuity. We're going to be looking at how to apply the equation, when to use the equation, how to use the equation, and why you would use the equation. Okay, so the equation for the present value annuity is P is equal to X open bracket 1 minus open bracket 1 plus I close bracket to the power of negative n all over I. Okay, so that is the equation of the present value annuity. I'm going to put it in a box to show that this is a very important equation you need to understand. Okay, so let's look deeper into this equation. Let's put some context into where and when and how and why you would use this equation. Okay, so the basis of the present value is that you're dealing with money, and money loses value over time. Okay, money loses value over time. For instance, if I lend you today, if you ask me to lend you 1,000 rands today, right? I ask you to lend you 1,000. You ask me to lend you 1,000 rands today, and you promise to pay me back after 10 years. You promise to pay me back the 1,000 rands after 10 years. So 10 years passed. Then 10 years later, you come back to me and you give me the 1,000 rands that you owed me. You will agree with me that this 1,000 rands in 10 years is not going to be worth the same as this 1,000 rands today. Okay, as a matter of fact, this 1,000 rands in 10 years will be worth less than this 1,000 rands today. So I will have lost out. In essence, I will have lost out. I will have lost out on the amount of money that I gave you. I will have made a loss. Why? Because we've got inflation, and inflation makes money lose its value over time. Okay, it makes money lose its value over time. So for me to be happy, you've got to give me a value in future that is more than 1,000 rands. You've got to give me some money that is more than 1,000 rands that is at least equivalent to this 1,000 rands today. But it's got to be more. We know that, say for instance, let me give you another example. I like this example, this bread example, right? 2-3 years back, bread might have cost 10 rands. Bread today costs about 18 rands. Okay, bread today costs about 18 rands. So 18 rands today is worth what 10 rands was back then. Okay, so this 18 rands is as valuable as a 10 rand from a couple of years back. Okay, so it's the exact same concept. Okay, so the present value of any amount that we're looking at today, the present value, the money that I have currently in my hand, is worth more than it will be worth in the future. Okay, so that's the basis. That's the basis of this of the present value. So you only use the present value formula when you are dealing with money that you have currently, right? When you're dealing with money that you have currently. Let's say you want to buy a car, or you want to buy a home, a house, right? Or you want money immediately. You want money today to use it for some reason, for some purpose today, right? You would approach the bank, right? If you don't have the money, you would approach the bank and ask them for a loan. Okay, now a loan gets approved and you get the money today. You receive the money today. You receive the money today. So you have it today. What does today mean? Today means in the present. You've got the money in the present. Now, the money that you have, the money that you will have received from the bank today will have to be paid back to the bank, but at an agreed time in future. You can't pay it back today because you don't have it today. You borrowed the money today, so you'll have to pay it back in future. But the money that you pay back in future will not be the same amount that you borrowed today. It can't be the same amount that you borrowed today. So if you take out a loan of 100,000 today, right? You take out a loan of 100,000 today from a bank. Now, the bank can't tell you to pay them back 100,000 after 5 years because they will have made a loss. 100,000 in 5 years won't be worth the same. It won't have the same value that it has today. So they'll want more. They'll want at least the equivalent of what they paid you today or what they gave you today, at least, right? Obviously, they'll have to make a profit, so they'll charge you a bit more and they'll demand a bit more, but they'll have to make at least as much as they gave you today, right? So let's say you've got the following situation. Let's use actual numbers. Let's say you actually do you want a car, right? Or you want a home. You want to buy a home, so you approach the bank. I know I'm repeating myself, but I have to make sure that this makes sense. You approach the bank gives you a loan, okay, and the loan amount that they give you is 100,000. It's 100,000. Okay, then you've got to pay it back. You've got to pay the 100,000 in 10 years. You've got to pay it back in 10 years. Now, how much would you have to pay in 10 years to make sure that the 100,000 is paid back in full? Okay, maybe with profits on top of it, but how much would you have to pay back in 10 years per year to make sure that you pay them back the equivalent of 100,000? Not 100,000, because 100,000 in 10 years will be worth less than what it is worth today. You want to pay them the equivalent, right? The equivalent of 100,000. You want to pay them the equivalent of 100,000. How much would you have to pay back per year to make sure that after 10 years you pay them back the equivalent of 100,000? Let's say you're dealing with an inflation rate of, let's say you're dealing with an interest rate of 6%. Right, you're dealing with an interest rate of 6%. So the inflation rate is 6%. So the money is the value of your money is increasing by 6%, or is decreasing by 6% per year, right, as you move towards the 10 years. So this is when you would use the present value formula. You've got P is equal to X, and I'll explain what these terms mean, plus I to the power of negative n to the power of negative n all over I. Okay, so in this equation here, you will see that you've got an x. X are the payments, right? These are the series of payments. It's the payments that you're going to keep having to make per month or per week or per year or per quarterly period into an account to pay back the money that you owe, right? So these are the series of payments. Series of constant payments. So they have to be constant, right? Constant. They have to be the same value. You can't change them. They can't be varying payments. Okay, they have to be a series of constant payments that you make. This is the interest rate. So this is the interest rate that the funds are going to be accumulating over time, right? This is the inflation rate. This is the amount at which the amount that you are paying in will be growing as you pay them into account. Okay, so this takes inflation into account. This takes the profits that the banks want to make into account. This takes all kinds of other expenses into account. Okay, and n is the number of years that we are looking at. Okay, and p is the present value. So based on the information that we have, p in our case is 100,000. P is 100,000. X is what we want to find out. how much would you have to pay per year to make sure that by the end of the payment period, you pay them at least the equivalent of their money that they gave you. Okay, and then I is the interest rate. I is the interest rate, and then we said we are looking at an interest rate of 6%. Okay, so I is 6% and N is 10 years. Okay, I'm not going to do the actual calculation now. I'm just explaining the concept so that you understand the concept. We will do examples on separate videos. Okay, so this is what you have here. You've got the present value annuity formula, right? And you would have to calculate X. Now, what is X? X are the payments that you're going to keep having to make for a period of 10 years at an interest of 6% that is being charged to you for you to get to the equivalent value of 100,000 rands. Right, 100,000 rands. So for you to get to an equivalent value of 100,000 rands, you would have to pay an X amount continually at an interest rate of 6% for a period of 10 years until you pay off your loan. Okay, so this is when you would use this formula. You will use this formula. It's important. I'm actually going to write this on a separate page of its own so that you don't forget. You use this formula. Use the present value formula. Use the present value formula when you have money in the present. Money in the present. Money that you're going to, it's usually a loan, right? Money in the present. So you go to a bank, you approach the bank and you ask them for a loan, and then they give you the money in the present. They give you all the money in the present, and then they will want you to pay them back that money at some time in future, but they won't want the exact money that they gave you. They'll want something that is more than what they gave you. So you're going to have to pay them more than what they gave you, because in future what they gave you will be worth less than what it is worth today. Okay, but the point that I'm making, what's important for you to remember is that you use it for the money you have. For the money you have currently in the present. Okay, so when they ask you, when you get questions like a bank loans you 100,000, or you want to buy a house today and you get you borrow. Okay, so the keywords are words like keywords. Okay, and then this list will not be exhaustive. I will not list all the keywords, but you should, with practice, this should become intuitive. You should know the kinds of words they use to indicate that you're going to receive money today. So it's words like borrow. Okay, it's words like borrow. It's words like lend. Okay, it's words like loan. Okay, it's what other words can there be? So any word that will give you an indication that you're going to receive the money today. Receive, right? You receive money. Okay, you receive money. Okay, and then usually the big institution that is involved in this situation is bank, right? You get the money from a bank. But it doesn't matter who you get the money from, the same principles apply. The present value, you use it when you receive money from an institution and you have to pay the money back somehow. Remember, the future value, you don't have money currently. For the future value, you are paying installments into an account to get to a certain amount in the future, right? Even in sinking funds, right? You're always aiming towards a certain amount. But as soon as you get an amount, as soon as the question gives you an indication that you've got the money today, I'm going to keep repeating myself. As soon as the bank or the institution, the financial institution, gives you an indication that you've got the money today, or you get the money today at present, then you use the present value formula. Okay, in the question. You've got to read the question carefully, understand it, because there's a lot of ways that they can trick you, but this is when you would use this equation. Okay, we'll prepare separate videos where we show you examples of such concepts, or of these financial mathematics topics, and then hopefully through the examples it will make more sense. Okay, so hopefully the concept makes sense, right? I will see you in the next video. Till next time.
Lesson number one, lesson number one. Lesson number one, lesson number one.